AgriBiz Communications. Adele Buettner owns and is the CEO of, and we are pleased to have her here today, give us some insight into what's been happening in the agricultural scene, that food and culinary world that we are home to here in Saskatchewan as major producers of and distributors of. Adele, thanks for taking some time and joining us today.
Thank you, Randy. I'm pleased to be here.
We'll talk a little bit about you and your background and how AgriBiz came to be and what it is exactly that you do.
Sure. I have the best job. In 1993, I started AgriBiz Communications, and I really started back there working with a lot of farmers and ranchers and farm organizations, helping them to promote their industry, their association, and what they produce. And over the years, my role has really changed and has grown, and we've made the dots from the farm gate to the dinner plate, which is not a new term for you or any of your viewers, I'm sure. But the food world has changed, and people have such an interest to know how their food is grown and where it comes from. So we've really worked right through the food chain to connect people and to tell the farm and the food story.
I really appreciate a lot of the work that you've done over the years to try and expand just that knowledge of where food comes from. I think that's very important. A lot of the kids that grow up and think that milk comes from aisle 7 in the store is not exactly true. It is true in some events. But when you started AgriBiz, what was it that drew you to that industry and doing what you're doing now?
Well, I just have a passion for agriculture. Agriculture is my backbone. I was raised in the country. I was raised on a farm. I just have such a passion for the farmers and ranchers in our province and in our country. And I mean, who doesn't love food? Everybody has a connection. If there's one thing in this world that connects every single one of us, it is food. Some of us are blessed to live in a country where food is plentiful, while others are challenged to get food every day, but there still is that connection. And so I've just always had that interest and have been fortunate to be able to have a career in this industry.
So talk about that, because you had some pictures that we looked at earlier, and I know there's you and I having fun promoting Great Western and the NSBA and some of the barbecues, and there was a photo that you shared from Napa promoting mustard. Talk about that.
Right. So for, oh gosh, about 12 or 13 years, I've been working for Sask Mustard. And Sask Mustard represents the mustard farmers in this province. And Canada is a world leader in mustard export. We are the #1 exporter. We grow great food in this province. And of course, we are an export province. And we export a lot of what we grow. In Canada, about 40% of the arable land is in Saskatchewan. So our climate and our conditions are very conducive to growing food, and we just grow a lot here. And as I say, I work for the mustard growers as one of our clients, and over the years we have connected our mustard farmers and where mustard grows to those who are champions of mustards, which is our culinary scene. And our #1 culinary institute in North America is the Culinary Institute of America, and there's 4 of them. There's 3 of them in the United States and 1 in Asia. And we have aligned with the Culinary Institute of America in Napa Valley. So over the last probably a dozen years or so, I've attended a number of workshops and seminars in Napa where I've promoted where mustard is grown, and also worked with chefs and culinary influencers to encourage them to use mustard more on their menu and more as an ingredient, not just a condiment.
An ingredient like in a mustard martini, I suppose.
That's a good idea. Also, in baking, in salad dressings, in rubs, in meatloaf. So if we use more mustard at the end of the day as an ingredient versus just a condiment, of course, it's healthy. There's lots of health benefits to using mustard, but it also raises the volume of mustard being used. And that helps our economy and helps our agriculture community.
Of numbers in terms of the percentage of food grown and where it's consumed. Was it 3% of the food production that you mentioned?
Saskatchewan has about 40%. 40% of the arable land comes from
Right.
Saskatchewan. So that means 40% of Canada's crop comes from Saskatchewan.
Understood.
Yeah.
And with the other groups that you represent, shed some light on, I mean, an all-encompassing individual with your company. Who are some others that you would represent and take Saskatchewan on the international stage?
Well, at any time that I have the opportunity when I'm traveling, whether it's professionally or personally, I'm always having the agriculture and food flag with me for Saskatchewan, but also for Canada as well. You know, we're so fortunate in this province to be world leaders in a number of commodities and grow so much here. We look at 90% of the oats in Canada is produced in Saskatchewan. We're the fourth in the world for production in oats. You know, in our cattle industry, we have the second highest cow population in Saskatchewan. Of course, canola is a Canadian through and through product. Saskatchewan produces about 50% of Canada's canola. And of course, Canada produces the most canola globally. So again, we're another world leader in canola production. And of course, wheat is one of our biggest crops in Canada and in Saskatchewan. And we haven't even touched on pulse, which of course we're a world leader in pulse exports as well. So when you look at what we grow in this province, we can be so proud of the food that we grow here because our farmers put such care and attention to having a healthy, abundant product. And it's on your table and on my table, but it's also on tables around the world.
I think that's important to note, and thank you for bringing that up because we can compete internationally from our little province here with a smaller population base, but it's the quality of the food that we grow. You mentioned earlier about the culinary world and working with chefs. Is it about taking that magic needle and weaving all of the farm to food store type of thing? With restaurants that we're seeing, people want the 100-mile diet. They want to be more conscientious about where the food is grown and how. Uh, who are some of the chefs, or can you mention how you do the work with the chefs to promote the food that you're growing here?
Oh, for sure. There's so many opportunities. And, you know, I mentioned the Culinary Institute in the US. Of course, we work with them and we talk to the instructors there about mustard, but we also talk to the students there about mustard. But locally in Saskatchewan, we belong to the Regina Chefs Association and the Saskatoon Chefs Association. And in Saskatchewan, we are so fortunate to have such talented, award-winning chefs right throughout our province. Very recognized and respected. And as you and I know, we have such a strong food scene in both cities, but I would say in particularly in Saskatoon, having a strong food scene here. So we've worked with chefs from across the province. We've sponsored some of their events. We have participated in their events. I have judged a number of culinary competitions as well. But it goes back to what we're growing here. And what you mentioned earlier, we only have about 3% of the population have direct ties to a family farm. So many people are not familiar with the care and attention that is put into providing a healthy product. And it's our chefs too. Not everybody has that opportunity to have that agriculture background. So part of that is having some conversations with them as well about where the ingredients come from. And the great news is our chefs are so thirsty and interested to learn about food because they are our big champion. And so many people go out for dinner now or pre-COVID and hopefully post-COVID where they want to emulate that delicious food that they've enjoyed that evening when they were dining. And they talk to the servers or they might talk to the chefs about how that food is produced and they want to go home and try to make it. So we look at our chefs as our champion. We look at them as our partner. They're a very important part of our marketing, of our growing, and of our passion of food as an agriculture community.
It's amazing when you start to drill down and hit bedrock in a lot of this that we are the base for a lot of the raw material that we have to see processed here. There was a little bit of a feather in your hat with some congratulations with a nomination to the Saskatchewan Agriculture Hall of Fame. Congratulations on that, but talk a bit about that and what that means.
Well, thank you. It was just such an honor to be nominated and to be accepted into the Saskatchewan Agriculture Hall of Fame. Um, every year there's a number of nominations that are presented, and there is a committee that is developed that reviews the nomination and usually selects about 4 or 5 people that are inducted into the Hall of Fame. And I was very honored this year to be one of the chosen to be inducted. And particularly meaningful for me because the nominations were brought forward by a blend of people that I have been associated with, from fellow volunteers, but also clients and colleagues that have joined together to submit my nomination. So it was very meaningful for me, and I look forward to next year when we're able to celebrate in some form together this year's nominations.
I want to also mention your previous association as chair of Prairie Land Park and SaskTel Center. How did those roles come into be, and how has that helped you?
Well, those roles are not particularly connected to my professional career. I have always been very community minded and been a volunteer for a variety of organizations in our province. And, I was a volunteer. I think I started volunteering at Prairie Land when I was around 17 or 18 years old, and have been a consistent supporter of Prairie Land. And I just feel, my roots are here. And although my work spans across North America, I have been very blessed to have clients and projects from coast to coast in Canada and in the United States. But my roots are here in Saskatchewan, and I'm very passionate about our city and our province, and where I can make a difference and contribute some time and expertise. I always look forward to that. So I have, as you mentioned, I was president of Prairie Land and just recently concluded a term as board chair of SaskTel Center. And both are a very important part of our community. And I was so pleased to be part of that. And it's helped me personally grow and learn more about the services we provide, and meet so many wonderful community volunteers as well.
Adele Buettner, I want to thank you for your leadership in the community and all the work you've done with AgriBiz Communications. I want to thank Jason Yoakum as well with the Saskatchewan Realtors Association. Thank all of you for staying with us and staying tuned in to Connect. We'll see you next time. I'm Randy Schiavalo, your host.